Hey everybody, Samuel to Geek, and I'm playing Pokemon Blue. Never really played Pokemon Blue seriously. When I was a kid, I had Pokemon Red bought for me from by my mom. Uh, I had just gotten a Game Boy Color for my birthday, and she wanted to get me Pokemon so badly. But at the time, it was during Pokemania. I think it was '97. I was like in first grade, and it was almost impossible to find a Pokemon game. So, like, she looked everywhere and couldn't find anything, and finally got me a copy of Toy Story 2 so I would have something to play on my Game Boy. And I spent like a month playing really crappy Toy Story 2. The worst part is, my copy of Toy Story 2 had a bug, so I couldn't even finish like the third level or something, and I was so angry. I thought, man, the Game Boy sucks, and because I had the N64, my mom bought me that the birthday prior because my babysitter and her kids had the N64 and they loved it so much, and I loved playing with them. I can't even remember what games I played with them, but anyway. I finally got my copy of Pokemon Red, and I still feel so bad. One of my uncles also found me a copy of Pokemon Red and bought it for me, and I was such an ungrateful little kid. I was so angry. I was like, I already have this game, blah, 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 blah. And my mom turned it in to Walmart for me and got me Rugrats the movie, the game. So I think I got pretty good punishment for getting a second copy of Red and being so ungrateful about it. But, that's karma for you. So we're going to start a new game here. I did eventually get Pokemon Blue, but I had so much done in my Red version that I never really wanted to go back to it. I also didn't like the Blue exclusive Pokemon, Sandshrew and Vulpix, and Magmar. I much preferred the Red exclusive Pokemon, which were like Electabuzz and Ekans and Growlithe. What I always found really interesting about this is that you could tell especially in Blue version, that none of the lore had been established yet, because you can still choose between Blue, Gary, and John as the default names, and whereas Pokemon Red, I guess it was seen as the main version because you have to choose between Ash and Red on your character. So I thought it was really interesting that they swapped this around for Blue. You could tell that they really didn't have kind of an established lure then. So it's really interesting to see that. I love the original Pokemon games so much. It's not just like nostalgia too. I just feel like they're more dark and gritty and they weren't as defined yet. I've always wondered why a kid would have a palm tree in his room. Uh, I think they hadn't even established the lore yet that you're supposed to be like a child, like a 10-year-old, because it just seems like everything's so much more adult. Like, what kind of kid just has a desk, a bed, a plant, and a computer, and a video game system? What I did find interesting is that they chose the Super Nintendo, because the N64 was definitely out at the time, but this game still has the Super Nintendo. Maybe it was already so far along in the development that the Super Nintendo is still the primary console. That's what I kind of think it is, because every game besides, since this one has had the latest console. Let's see. The Great Host. Dude, the new ones are terrible. I bought Sun and Moon, didn't finish it. I know, man. I liked Sun and Moon, but the problem is the pacing is so bad. Like, I don't like playing a game for an hour tutorial. One thing I found interesting about Pokemon, the original Pokemons, is that when I grew up, I finally realized that this saying, the four boys walking on the railroad tracks, that's a saying for Stand By Me. Stand By Me. That is a callback to that, which I found really interesting as an adult. So, Let's go get into the grass. But yeah, I can understand the frustration with the new Pokemon games. They're definitely aimed at children, which I feel like the original Pokemon games was aimed at all ages. Like, even though it had somewhat of a childish vibe to it, there's still like this weird, gritty adultness to it. Like, there's a lot of depth to how evil Team Rocket is and how they're perceived, and with gambling and all kinds of other stuff in this one. Yeah, they definitely hold your hand. They're also just easier games in general. Uh, there's just not a lot of weight to any decision you make. Where I feel like the original ones, there was not that many decisions in the game, but everyone felt meaner. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. If you read the original manga for Pokemon, I feel like it captures my idea of kind of what I thought Pokemon was. I didn't really start with the anime like most people. I started with the video game and the card games. So my idea of Pokemon was a lot more different than what the anime portrayed. I thought the anime was kind of lame when I first saw it. It was not what I pictured when I was playing these games for the first time. And when my first Pokemon card set was Fossil, so Fossil was pretty gritty. What should we nickname Squirtle? You know, since you're the first one in the chat, great host, I'm going to name it after you. How about that? Don't forget Lavender Town. I actually did a video on the Lavender Town and how there was a myth for a long time when people were when we were kids that there was like something spooky about Lavender Town. They had to change the music because it hurt people's ears. I actually bought a Japanese version of the game to see if the music was really that different, and it turns out not. It's exactly the same. So let's beat here, red here. It's all messed up. I'm so used to playing the red version. I'm not used to being blue. What's so weird about this game is that all the attacks and stuff are messed up because they had no idea how this game would be played. I usually find it in this first battle, even though there's like strategic ways you could use Tail Whip. It's just better to spam the stab attack, which in this case would be Tackle, and just wait them out because oftentimes there was like this weird thing in the first generation where moves would fail for no reason, and it would happen quite a lot. What are my thoughts on yellow versus red versus blue? I think Pokemon Yellow just felt weird. Like, I played Pokemon Yellow because I didn't want to buy blue because it was so similar to red at first, and I did eventually end up buying blue. I forgot I'm not capturing a Pokemon. I did eventually buy blue, but yellow is just... I don't know how to describe it. I feel like the pacing is weird with all the new stuff from the anime added in. I also had a weird glitch on my version of Yellow where I could never get Bulbasaur, which really pissed me off. And it made the game... I think that soured the game for me, not being able to get Bulbasaur, because that was like one of the highlights of the game. I did like Yellow for other reasons, though, because I was one of the rare kids who had a Game Boy printer and a Game Boy camera, and I was able to print out the Pokemon, and like I had a lunchbox because I was like in second grade or whatever, and I had it covered with all the Pokemon, like my team's characters, and I had the stickers on my lunch pail that I had printed out on the Game Boy printer. So a lot of this cool stuff with the Game Boy printer actually made me want to play it further. But by the time I got really deep into Yellow, Pokemon Gold came out, and I was just kind of done with it. I did beat the Elite Four, but I did not. I didn't. There's not as many fond memories associated with it as there is with Red. And by the time I bought Pokemon Blue, I just did it to complete like the collection because I had red, blue, gold, silver, yellow, and at that time that's what I was doing because I just loved these games so much as a kid, and I had Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Stadium, and I was never able to get the Pokemon puzzle game on the N64, but my local video shop, which was called Smith's Video in Espanola, New Mexico, before they went under, they had a copy of the Pokemon puzzle game, and I rented that quite a few times and played against my friends. And but yeah, like the mini games in Pokemon Stadium, those made for some of the funnest party games because none of us had Mario Party, and that was like the closest thing we could get to it. Ruby and Sapphire, I still loved Ruby and Sapphire. I don't know why, but I think it had to do. I was still in elementary school when Ruby and Sapphire came out, so and at that time, GameCube games were just so expensive. I would rather play the Game Boy games, and also at that time, I think my brother and I were being forced to share a room, so I just rather play my Game Boy than deal with him. Let's see. Play Gears 5. Well, I'd play Gears 5 if I had my Xbox One with me. I've never played it yet. In fact, I haven't played Gears 4. I played Gears. The last game I played was Gears 3. I bought an Xbox One when I was living in Arizona, and the only games I owned for it were Overwatch and the LA Noire remake. And I ended up not playing it that much at all because I was just working all the time and had no time for video games. I really don't even have time for video games now. I'm procrastinating. I have to read Plato and Machiavelli for I don't know how I've read these things already, but I have to read them for class and take notes. One of my professors in grad school is having us do it as a part of discussion, and we all have our own roles to come up with questions about these notes. And it's just going to be a pain in the butt, and I should probably be doing it. Gears 5 is riddled with microtransactions. Yeah, that's another thing. Pokemon could be seen as the first microtransactions because you had to buy 2 copies of the game in order to get the whole game. And you had to have 2 Game Boys. I was one of the only people with a link cable, and I was one of the only people at school with a link cable that had both Game Boy Original and Game Boy Color ports, which was really important. That came in handy quite a lot in elementary school. It made me some friends. So Tupac and Machiavelli. What do you think? I love Tupac, man. I haven't listened to Tupac in a long time, though. Have you seen Pokemon Home now? Honestly, the thing is since 2015, since I kind of stopped making videos for this channel, I hadn't really kept up with video games that much. I know Pokemon Sword and Shield is out, and I own a Nintendo Switch because I'm an idiot and I spend too much money on things I don't use. But I haven't played it, and I haven't bought it, and I don't know if I will. I was just so disappointed. I mean, I liked Pokemon Sun and Moon. It was okay. I played through it. I beat it. And X and Y was actually pretty decent, but it was just so easy and so boring in a lot of ways. And it just didn't capture me like these ones do. Like, these ones don't hold your hand. And, like, I've beaten Pokemon before pretty quickly, and I don't think I could do that with the newer games. They have no replayability. They're charging money for global trading. Ugh, that stinks. What's the point of having two versions nowadays? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's kind of criminal that they have two versions still. I don't know why I said no. Just wanted to say yes. Yeah, I think the two versions model makes no sense in the modern age, especially with global trading, and especially if they're charging money for it. I mean, they should just have one version of Pokemon then. What's the point of having two versions? The whole point of having two versions is that you get exclusive Pokemon in each game, and you'd have to trade them for each other. And now Nintendo's charging for online, which I don't mind. I understand, it costs money to host an online server, but it would be very nice if they didn't do that. What I was always shocked at by, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but in this game, Sparrow is a lot more common than in Red. It seems like it. Like when I go over here to the other side of Viridian City to hunt for Pokemon, like Sparrows seem like they're everywhere, whereas in Red it seemed like a very rare Pokemon at a somewhat more higher level. What was the last game I beat? Define beat? I mean, I actually am very close to beating another game right now. I bought the NES remix on the 3DS, and I'm close to finishing that one. I just have a couple more levels. I think the last game I thoroughly did a deep dive into was Fallout 4, where I platinumed it. But other than that, I haven't really done a deep dive into a game in a long time. And I kind of was petty about Fallout 4 because I was so disappointed in the game. I just wanted to get something out of it, and I couldn't find it. I mean, I think Fallout 4 is a really bad game, to be honest. Like, the more time passes, the more I reflect on my experiences. It's so easy. They cut out all the things that made Fallout interesting. There's some charming characters and some interesting ideas, but it just wasn't a good game. When Fallout 3 first came out and I really liked it, I used to mock the No Mutant Allowed guys for being so attached to the older series. But when New Vegas came out, and the more time I went back to the first two Fallout games, I've started to realize the No Mutant Allowed guys, they're right. They're right about Bethesda. They were always right, and I was an idiot. Man, I wish I wish I saw your Fallout 4 plays. I have a couple. Fallout 76, I knew that was going to be a disaster. Some of my friends from the old YouTube days called me out for being such a cynical person when the first announcements came out. But, man, I knew from the way it looked that it was going to be terrible. And I have no idea why people thought that was going to be a great game. Like, what sucks is that the concept isn't that bad. Like, it's not really that bad to imagine like a Destiny version of Fallout, but it was executed so poorly, and just the idea from the trailers just ugh. Which sucks too, because some of the creatures and other interesting ideas in that game, they looked really interesting. But I don't know, man. What I find weird is all the people criticizing the fact that there's no NPCs. I actually thought that was a more interesting idea on Fallout. about how maybe the vault dwelling people are like the only ones left in an area, and they're having to, you know, grasp the concept of no one else being alive and of something just completely wiping off human life. I think that's an interesting concept. It wasn't executed good at all, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that's what was wrong with the game at all. Like, there was a lot of potential in 76, but the problem is that you could tell a lot of the marketing and stuff messed with the final product. I'm just grinding here to get ready to beat Gary. I need to catch another Pokemon, though. I might have to go to the other side of Viridian City because the Pokemon here are just so stupidly low-leveled in these first two routes. I just haven't been happy with the direction Bethesda's been taking with Fallout. I watched a really good video on it today, actually. I can't remember who made the video, but he went into detail about how Bethesda just basically doesn't understand why Fallout is good, and that's a major reason for all the issues that they have writing a good Fallout story. And it all made sense. Like, they think that the appeal to Fallout is the 1950s aesthetic, and they don't realize that the appeal to Fallout is just kind of how, like, humanity's, raw core and how corrupt politics and stuff can just define a culture and the collapse of society. I don't know. They don't understand why people like Fallout, or they don't understand why people like the story of Fallout, or they don't think people care about the story of Fallout. I don't know which it is, but yeah, it's one of those. Alright, this Rattata is pretty decently leveled. So I'll probably capture it. When I was a little kid, I always thought holding the B button and down made it more likely that you would catch the Pokemon. And that habit existed way too long. Like, almost every single time now. I mean, every single game after I did that. So MGK was the second person, so we'll name this one after him. Oh, you could just press start, huh? And that would, end that. I don't know why I did the long way. When I first was playing Pokemon, I didn't know how to read all that well, because I was in first grade. So this really helped me build my vocabulary. SJW thoughts. Do you mean like my thoughts on the phenomenon of politics and about politics and video games and all that, or like because the social justice warrior thing is a weird thing that happened. I think all of Gamergate is like a weird thing that happened because I understand where both sides are coming from. Obviously, me being a conservative, I am not happy with how much of a liberal bent is in video games media. But almost all of video games media is located in San Francisco and New York, so it shouldn't be that difficult to figure out why those those opinions proliferate throughout video games. And then journalism in general is kind of a liberal career path. There's an old joke when the Tea Party was going on. A lot of us conservatives in journalism were like, yeah, we're the cup of tea at the latte party. So, I mean, I'm so used to being around liberals that it just doesn't faze me when I see their opinions. I already know what they are. But a lot of people, they're not used to having, such hostile political rhetoric around them. But as someone who's worked in politics and who's lived in blue states, I'm just kind of used to it. Like right now, I live in Maryland, and a lot of Maryland is very, very liberal, and I'm just used to that kind of rhetoric. So I don't know what to say besides I don't think they have that much of an effect on the industry and the ones that they do. I mean, people speak with their wallets, and a lot of the games that they've messed with, they don't sell too well. And eventually, people in corporate will be like, we probably shouldn't listen to these idiots who are telling us to do all kinds of stuff. So, my advice is if you're annoyed by some of the things happening in the video game culture, and don't go to their websites, don't buy their games, vote with your wallet, because that's literally the best thing you could do. Uh, I do think that it's somewhat ironic that a lot of them have gone after YouTubers and streamers and stuff, since a lot of them are now living off Patreon and are still, you know, writing for magazines and stuff freelance, but are asking other people to kind of finance their freelance lifestyle, which I don't know how to feel about that. That's weird. In my personal opinion, a lot of these people would be better off if they moved out of the San Francisco Bay Area, moved somewhere affordable, and still freelanced. Like, part of their problem is that their rent is so astronomically high that they'll never be able to basically afford a decent home. You see, Sparrow's I could swear that in Pokemon Red, the difference here is that, like, first off, Nidoran males are more common and Nidoran females are more common in this one, and that Sparrow used to go up to level 5 or 6. I also, am I crazy, or is Mankey not in Pokemon Blue? Because I feel like I go around this patch of grass and Mankey just never appears. And I swear that Mankey was in this patch of grass. I know he is in yellow, but I swear in red that he's in this patch of grass, and in blue he's not. I don't know, maybe I'm going crazy. But my advice is, don't take politics in video games so seriously. It's not that big of a deal. It only seems like a bigger deal because you see people like Colin Moriarty complain about it, but that's because he's right there. He lives in San Francisco. He has to deal with it, and they are a big threat to him personally, and it sucks. But for the average gamer, you'll never experience it. And if you don't like what's going on, my best advice is just not to buy the games and stuff. Like, there's millions of games out there. You can play older games. Don't feel pressured to buy new games. That's the best advice I could give you. Like, I really got back on a Pokemon kick, and I really wanted to buy the new Sword and Shield, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I could buy the new Sword or Shield. I'm gonna get my butt kicked by this Sparrow, so I better switch him out. I could buy the new Sword or Shield, or I could just play the old Pokemon games that I know I'll like, that I know I won't be disappointed by, that I know still hold up pretty well. I don't care what people say about the graphics and stuff of this game. It still holds up. I think the graphics are a little more interesting because they look so different. I should have caught that Sparrow. It would have been a good third option against Gary up there. Oh well, I'll probably run into another one. Yep. Oh. I accidentally hit down there. I need to get Rattata probably up to level 5 or 6 before he could battle by himself, because he was just getting his butt kicked there by Sparrow. But yeah, my biggest advice is to just focus on getting a good. I mean, play games that you like. Play games that you like and that make you happy. Don't buy games to keep up with the Joneses. Those most video game reviewers, including me, got games sent to them for free. Like a lot of those games, do you think I would go and buy Beyblade or Ben 10 or any of this crap? No, it was sent to me. Like, you know, video game companies give out free copies of their games to people who review them as payment, basically. And to this day, I'm still on a bunch of mailing lists. If I wanted to, I could get a bunch of useless Steam games tomorrow that I would know I wouldn't enjoy, and I could probably stream them and have the company shout me out and boost my YouTube channel. Like, if you see a popular streamer or a popular person on YouTube streaming some game you've never heard of, they were basically given a free copy to do that. Like, a lot of these people know the power of word of mouth. They know that YouTubers are powerful, and that if you see them playing a game, that you're likely to buy it. It's not like back in the day, like when we were playing video games back in the day here on YouTube in 2007, 2008, 2009. It was during the recession, so video games were seen as expensive commodities, like really expensive. And so the type of game people wanted was much different. People valued. I think that's one of the biggest differences between now and then, is that $60 was a lot of money in 2008 because of the recession. And so people were a lot more picky about what kind of games they wanted. They wanted longer games. They wanted games with more content because they wanted their $60 to go far. Because nowadays, $60, that's a date, like that's a good date. If you go to a decent restaurant with a girl, that's $60 right there, one night. You know what I mean? So $60 is not that much money when you have a lot of disposable income, like a lot of people do now in this good economy. But in the bad economy, that's how it is. I don't want to play Sword and Shield, Adrian. Sword and Shield, too much money. But I think part of the problem with games nowadays is that the economy is so good that people are a lot more generous with their money. They're a lot more generous to the type of things that they would spend money on. I think that's one reason why microtransactions, like, who remembers when the 360 came out? Like, Bethesda tried to charge for horse armor, and it was seen as one of the most controversial things to ever happen. And nowadays, people don't bat an eye when horse armor and stuff is available. Yeah, Fallout 3 did, 2008 was a highly competitive year. Like, it was one of the most competitive years in gaming. You had Fallout 3, you had, I think it was Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops. You had all these games competing for your attention. High quality games that you could pour hundreds of hours into. Like, you don't have that nowadays. Games are kind of designed to be disposable because they know that you could buy more than one game. Yeah. Yeah, I have a big problem with Sword and Shield being $60 too. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Adrian, is that $60 nowadays goes a lot. I mean, a lot more people have the money to play video games, so it's kind of seen as more disposable. Whereas when we were first getting into video games, like, seriously as journalists, reviews had more weight. Games had to have more weight as well because it was during the recession, and a lot of people had, they didn't buy that many games, so they had to the game companies had to do a lot more to win over consumers. I don't think it. Do you guys think MGK can handle this Radica? I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to switch him out. Oh, don't faint. Oh God. I put about 30, 40 hours in Sword and Shield. I don't need a long post game. Well, yeah, because you're an adult, Adrian. You have disposable income. Like, to you, $60 isn't that much money. To me, as a child, Pokemon's Gold and Silver having an 80-hour post game, you know, or just so much content, it was ridiculous, mattered to me because it was the only game that I could convince my parents to buy me for $40 damn in 1990. I mean, in 2000 or whenever the hell it came out, 99, 2000. So it meant a lot more to me. It was more valuable to me that Pokemon Gold gave me that much bang for my buck. Like, Pokemon, I mean, I understand, Adrian, where you're coming from, but these games are designed for children, and $60 and an absurd amount of money for the Pokemon, the content you get in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Why couldn't it have been like $30, $40, like X and Y? Like, I don't know, I think it's ridiculous. Pokemon has definitely gotten lazy. Gold and Silver, you see, the reason why the first two Pokemon games I felt were so good is because they didn't know it was going to be a success. Pokemon Red was like a pilot. Pokemon Red and Blue were pilots. They did not know if this would be a success, and they poured their hearts and souls into this game. And they you could every like little piece of this game, you could feel the charm and stuff because you could feel the developers were desperate. And then in Gold and Silver, they thought it was good. They thought the Pokemon hype was going to die, and they thought it was going to be the last game. So they poured their heart and soul into that one too. You can't tell me that Pokemon Sword and Shield feels like a passion project, like these first two games do. Those do not have an adult lifestyle, dude. In this game, Pokemon die, bro. There's nothing like Lavender Town in the newer games. In this game, they talk about wars, and there's a lot more adult themes in the original Pokemon games, and even in Gold and Silver, you were talking about how Team Rocket was basically genociding slowpokes to make their tails into into a tasty snack. And like, I don't know, there was a lot more adult themes in the first two games, and you know, Team Rocket seemed like a really bad people, like plausibly bad. Oh, I gotta capture this one. I don't really even care that much about the national decks because I think that basically the Pokedex is a way to scam people into buying the old games, which I think is also weird because they don't make any money off selling the old games. So I've never understood why like, for instance, why aren't Gold and Silver available on a virtual console? Like, it took them forever to release Red, Blue, and Yellow on virtual console, but Gold and Silver, or maybe they are. Has that changed since since I haven't paid attention to video games? But like, it seems crazy to me the money left on the table of not selling old Pokemon games on the virtual console. Like, you know, why isn't Pokemon Emerald on the Switch? I play on PC mainly. No way I'm paying $80 videos. Yeah, I understand. I mean, I have a PC too now. I'm not playing on it. I'm playing this on my old crappy MacBook I use for homework. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to justify paying that much money. Like, I don't know. I feel like an old man for saying that, but it's just like, but at the same time, it's also not that hard to justify it because of the amount of time you get, and your free time is limited as an adult, and you don't have as much time. Like right now, I'm wasting time. Like I have homework to do, I have laundry to do, I have a lot of little chores I should be doing, like cleaning the bathroom and stuff. But I'm choosing to play Pokemon on stream, like a responsible adult. But I don't know. It's weird. It seems like Pokemon's in a weird place these days because it's aiming at a market that's just so divided on attention. Most anticipated game of the year. Hmm. You know, I kind of really want to try the new Animal Crossing. This is how you can tell I just don't care anymore about video games. But I really loved the 3DS Animal Crossing. It respects your time. Adrian, Pokemon Red, if you're really good at it, you could beat the damn story in 3 hours. Like, if you know what you're doing in this game, you could beat it in 3 hours. The most, the worst part about this game is the stupid Safari Zone and the and the Lieutenant Surge gym where you have to search the freaking trash cans. Those are the most time-consuming parts of the story. Like, other than that, this game is easy. Like, it's very straightforward and doesn't waste your time. So I don't see how Pokemon Sword and Shield could be any more concise than that. Like, those are the only two things that waste your time in Red. And in Gold, there's only a couple of annoyances, like with the unknowns, and there's one more annoyance I can't remember. The Gyarados plotline kind of was a pain in the butt too, but it was really cool. It was a really cool payoff. That Gyarados is pretty badass. No one used to enter the chat, so I guess I'll just name this one after myself. Here, I gotta go plug in my MacBook for a second. I'll be right back. This is what happens if you don't plug in your laptop. Okay. I don't know where you're coming from, Adrian. The new Pokemon games waste your time a lot. I don't know what fat there were in the original ones. I mean, I could see where you're coming from post Gold and Silver. Like, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire had, like, some long, drawn-out stories. But the first two games, which are my favorite ones, they don't have anything at all. My game, Ghosts of Tsushima, Doom Eternal, Cyberpunk, Animal Crossing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of waiting to see what the new consoles show. I'm kind of excited for that. I'm getting a little bit of hype for that. I know Adrian in here is getting the new Xbox, so I might get a new Xbox too. I don't have a proper TV though, so I'm definitely gonna have to buy one of those. My TV broke, and then I haven't bought one in quite some time. So, yeah, it's been crazy. My life's been all over the place. I moved like 7 times in the past 2 years, so it's been all over the place. I currently live like near Baltimore, but we'll see. I honestly don't have that much time. But by the time the new consoles come out, I will have graduated from grad school, and I'll have a 9 to 5 job. So. The main criticism I see of Sword and Shield is that it basically feels like a portable game in a new console body. Like, you know what I mean? It's $60 for a game that feels like it could have been on the 3DS. Red Dead Redemption 2. I really want to try it. I mean, I have a PC that can play it. I need to buy an Xbox controller though, because I don't think there's any way I could play that game with mouse and keyboard. I've tried playing some games with mouse and keyboard that were third person. I just couldn't do it. Like I bought Assassin's Creed 2 on the Steam sale last year, and I tried to play it with mouse and keyboard, and it just felt weird. It just didn't feel right. I think third person games you need a controller. So I just need to go buy like a cheap Xbox 360 controller or something and throw it on my PC. But yeah, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 looked incredible. There's a lot of games I need to catch up on that I think look great. Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely one of them. I heard the Halo 5 was garbage, but I know you liked it, Adrian, so I might want to check that out. I know Halo Reach is on PC now, and I kind of want to download that. Because Halo Reach is an amazing game. I don't care what people say. Man, it's so weird how the Pokemon sprites changed before the anime. You could tell they had no idea how this was supposed to be a cutesy game. I'll try to stream more, my friend. I kind of like wanted to test out streaming because I feel like it's an easier thing for me to do than to make a video. Because making a video just takes so much thought and foresight and planning. Just to get my thoughts straight, because if I try to make a video raw like I used to, I end up going like 20 minutes because I'm a motor mouth and I have so many ideas in my brain. And nobody wants to watch a recorded 20-minute video. It's just not, it's like my thoughts are all scrambled and it doesn't make any sense. Whereas, you know, that's a lot more acceptable in a stream. But, yeah, I just feel like the video game industry in general has trended towards anti-consumer behavior in a way that, like, I used to be able to defend a lot of it, but it just feels like, yeah. I don't know, it feels different. It feels different than in the last generation. I feel like companies took more risks, so I was a little more tolerant of some of their missteps. Like, you know, the game passes, which were designed to destroy used games. Like, I was a little more tolerant of that because the games that would put in, you know, those game passes usually put in a lot more risks. You know what I mean? Like Homefront. Homefront was a risky, unknown, weird game, and you know, without that game, without that Game Pass, I don't think they would have been able to fund themselves properly. And I don't know. I feel like games nowadays, they just don't take any risks, and yet they have the most funding mechanisms they've ever had. Through microtransactions, they're making more money than ever, and there's no risks. All the games are very vanilla, and they don't take any risks. Like this Pokemon game, when it came out, it was a risky game, man. Like, you know, a JRPG meant to appeal to the mainstream audience and having to sell a crap load of copies. Like, marketing this game was intense. They didn't know what to do with it, and you could feel it. Like, you could feel the passion. And I just feel like, you know, I tried to play Fortnite and all this stuff, and I just don't get that same feeling. And even in the indie games, like the indie games just don't feel that way either. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. Maybe it's just they're trying to imitate the AAA games too much these days, but a lot of the indie games kind of feel the same way. Although I just got this. This is a Game Boy Pocket, and it's modded to have a backlight. And this thing, I have found a couple of cool homebrew games. They're not too complicated, but they're free, and they're pretty interesting that I've been trying out. But yeah, I'm really enjoying looking at some of the Game Boy homebrew and replaying some of the games that I had from my childhood through that Game Boy Pocket. I also have quite a bit on this 3DS. These are kind of like my main consoles right now. Are my 3DS and Game Boy Pocket. But yeah, like I just bought NES Remix, and I'm almost through that. I have New Super Mario Brothers 2, which I never played when it first came out, and I want to try that too. Um, it was like $15 on Amazon. And I was like, screw it, I'll buy that game. 3DS right now. 3DS is an underrated console because a lot of the best games on it right now are super cheap because the console just died, and people aren't collecting it and stuff as much like the original DS. So there's still a lot of cool, awesome niche games that are selling for like $10, $15 on Amazon. So if you want a good Nintendo console to check out right now, it's the 3DS. And you could buy an old, cheaper 3DS for like nothing. So that's the console I'd recommend checking out. And if you mod your 3DS, you could get homebrew, and there's a lot of cool stuff on the 3DS and DS homebrew that you could access off of it. And that would be my recommendation for some consoles like to mess around with before the new ones come out. I'm just getting into the Game Boy scene because I just love the Game Boy, and it's definitely my childhood. And because I could only afford cheaper games when I was younger, I'm a lot more acquainted with the original Game Boy games as opposed to the Color. I think I owned like 3 Game Boy Color games, like actual Game Boy Color games that I played a lot, and that was Pokemon Crystal, Pokemon Crystal. Uh, what's the other? Pokemon Crystal, Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, and a really crappy Dragon Ball Z game. That was like a card game, but not. It was terrible. That's all I remember. And I was so angry how bad it was because I spent a lot of money on it, like $25 in early 2000s. That was a lot of money. 2001, 2000, some ridiculous amount of money. Man, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like just phased out, talking, playing Pokemon. Uh, this is how streams. I feel like the best streams are not people like trying to be good at the game. I don't know the appeal of like those kind of streams, like the speed running streams and all that, because the host hardly ever talks. And I get that they have to do it in order to prove that they didn't cheat, and that's kind of like the appeal. But like, I feel like you watch a stream to get acquainted with the person streaming, as opposed to trying to see skill and stuff. But I don't know. I think that's the point of watching live. I guess since it's competitive in a way, that's why stream like speedrunning is enjoyable. Thoughts on the new consoles? I haven't seen much out of them. They've been really tight-lipped, and they've been able to control the leaks pretty good. I think the new Xbox X Series X looks ridiculous. It looks like a PC gaming tower, uh, and in a way, it's charming. Like I think it's a little charming that it looks like that. Because like the main criticism of Xbox since the original one is that it was basically a PC in a box, and now it's just like getting harder and harder to deny that. Because that's basically what it is. It's a PC in a box. Like I don't know. It just looks like a Walmart gaming rig. You know what I mean? That they slapped an Xbox sticker on. It looks so funny, and in some ways, it's really charming. I'm interested to see what the new PlayStation looks like because I have a feeling they're going to try to find a way to undercut the Xbox somehow. I don't think that those leaks about it are what it really looks like. Do you think Nintendo has to remain portable with the Switch? I think they would be smart. I think Nintendo being portable, I think it's their strength. To be honest, like I think Nintendo's strength is its portability. I love, its portability. Like all their games just work better portable. Like for instance, the original Animal Crossing is one of my favorite games I ever played with my father. We did connect over it a lot, and there's a lot of sentimental moments of it being a console game because it was in the living room and my parents could see what I was doing and stuff. But my favorite moments with Animal Crossing were with the 3DS and the DS version because they were portable. Long car trips were tolerable. Waiting in airports was made better by having the games be portable, and the games just it made a lot more sense to open up a Game Boy and do a couple quick things in the game portably than it did to start up your GameCube and go through all the process. And I think that it's basically applicable to all their games. Like, it's much easier to knock out a game of Super Smash Brothers while you're on the toilet or whatever than it is to justify booting up into it on the TV unless you have like a group of friends around. And I think because split screen and couch multiplayer is just on the decline, that portability has made up for a lot of the flaws in Nintendo's games. Because the portability and online aspect of them strengthen their appeal. And I think that's one reason why people don't mind paying that much more money for them, is because they're portable. So in a lot of ways, I think Nintendo would be smart to just stick to portable consoles, just making the best damn portable console they can make, because it just plays to all of their game strengths. All of their games are benefited by the Switch being portable. And wow, look how long it took to find a Nidoran male. They're very rare in this game. Like, oh, and I just knocked it out. By the way, what happened there is that my hinge on this MacBook Air is broken. So if I wiggle it too much, it falls over like that. And that's why I'll probably buy a new computer after I graduate grad school. But right now, I just need this to last me through grad school. Oh, man. What should we nickname this? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I have not used my Switch as a sit-down console at all. I don't see the appeal of it being a sit-down console. I really wish I would have just waited to the Switch Lite, because that seems a lot more my speed, to be honest with you. Um, I don't think that the Switch is a good like sit down console system, but it's an excellent portable system. And I think a lot of people recognize that too, because a lot of the Nintendo haters from back in the day on YouTube, they even own and like the Switch because it's portable. I don't know. I think it just opens up a lot more avenues for them. I do think it would benefit them to kind of make it more multimedia and allow, you know, like people to put their music and stuff on there. I know they hate doing that because it opens up a lot of exploits that can be used on the Switch. But I feel like if it was made like an ultimate multimedia center that people could take around with them, that there'd be a lot of benefits to that they don't see. So yeah, definitely Nidoran female is more common in this game. What do you think Nintendo deals with online is? At this point, it just seems like they're intentionally being dumb with wacky features. They just trying to protect the kids. I do think it's just like Nintendo gets a lot more scrutiny when it comes to children. And what you have to also understand about Nintendo is that they want to be seen as a safe thing for parents. Like, and they know where their bread and butter is, and their bread and butter is with kids and parents. It's not with us, almost 30 idiots playing their games from 20 years ago on stream. you know, that's not Nintendo's bread and butter. Okay, it's children, which is why all of their properties have been focused towards them, and they basically need to present something that won't get parents upset. Whereas Xbox and PlayStation could always maintain. And the other thing too is that gaming is all Nintendo has, so they're just a overall way more conservative company. Microsoft doesn't care. I mean, Microsoft was thinking about selling Xbox off just a couple years ago and spinning it into its own company. Like, they don't care about Xbox at all. And Sony, they make a lot of money off PlayStation, but it's mostly a vehicle for all of their other ventures. So Nintendo has nothing to fall back on. So they're a lot more suspicious about anything when it comes to their franchises and their IPs. And I can't blame them. But when it comes to online, you open yourself for so much trouble. You open yourself up to a lot of issues. And to them, it's just about maintaining, the squeaky clean, image that they have. It's the reason why they didn't bring some of their more controversial games out here stateside. Like, there's a lot of weird games on the Wii and stuff they did not bring out here. Even the Wii U. They had some games that they didn't bring out here that were, kind of edgy. And, also, Nintendo knows how valuable its properties are. They know how much connection people have to these games. And that's the big difference between them and a lot of other companies, is that they know what their properties are worth, and they try to keep them free from milking. Although Pokemon is getting to the point where they're kind of losing that. Like, they've milked the hell out of Pokemon the last couple of years. There's been a Pokemon game every year. It's like goddamn Call of Duty and Madden now. Like, I never played Let's Go. I never played Pokemon Go when it came out. Like, there's so much Pokemon. It's crazy. Like, all the stuff I wanted when I was a kid is happening now for these kids. These kids are spoiled with Pokemon. It would be you would wait months for new Pokemon crap to come out. Like when I was a kid. It felt like it anyway. And like it would be difficult to find Pokemon anything because people would buy it up so quick. Now I go to Walmart and you can get like a Pikachu hat for like $4 or something. And you know, it's like, where the hell was this stuff when I was a kid? I would have loved to wear like a Charizard hat when I was a kid. Why didn't that exist? Oh man, it's crazy to see how things have changed. Gaming's is so much more mainstream too. That's one thing you have to remember too, is that back in the day, it was you were a weirdo if you played video games. I've always thought this was funny how like a cow represents Rattata because they only had a couple of figures for each type of Pokemon. And Rattata is represented by a damn cow. I wonder why they chose a cow. Is it just like all quadruped, like land Pokemon? I think there's it's represented by cows. All bipedal Pokemon are represented by the little dragon like Rhydon thing. And then like, well, I guess it's Tauros. It's not a cow. It's Tauros. Well, Tauros is a bull, so I guess it's still technically a cow. But Tauros represents all quadrupedal land Pokemon that aren't like, you know, anything specific. And all birds are represented by some ambiguous bird that I think is supposed to be like Pidgey. Do you think I could take on Gary? I think I can. Let's go do it. Well, to be fair, the red and blue's sprites are really ugly too. What I don't like about the new games is just like the weird like desaturation. Like I feel like ever since X and Y came out, the games are like desaturated. Like the colors are duller. Am I crazy? See, a lot of these you could just stab and get through them. Oh yeah, you can just pound through these guys. Wow, is my Rattata gonna take him out? Yeah, I can understand that their designs are weirder. I mean, I think in all honesty, it's just because all the good animals you could design out of are kind of taken. Like, I still feel like there's a couple of designs though are lackluster. Like, there still hasn't been a really good elephant Pokemon. I feel like they could do a better design for that. Wow, I took him out with Rattata. I don't know. I think a lot of it too is that the design conventions are limiting them. Like, and they've focused way too much on inanimate objects, which were the least appealing Pokemon of every generation. Like, people will make fun of the original Pokemon because of Mr. Mime and Magneton and stuff, and Voltorb. But, you know, I feel like the first gen has a lot less misses than all the other gens do. But I'm definitely a Gen 1er just because I spent the most time with it. I know Phanpy is the elephant Pokemon, but it's a weird one because like it's designed. It just First off, it's a tiny little elephant. It's not even like a real elephant. I'm talking about there's no giant African elephant Pokemon. Still missing. Do you like fairy type? I think it's great to combat the overpowered dragons. Yeah, I agree that it's good to add a new. It was good of them to add a new type. Um, it did balance the game a lot, but since I didn't really play competitively, I didn't care that much. Okay, let's see. Like, I tried to play competitively. I played competitively with red and blue back in the day. Let's see. Actually, I think that would be a better one. I need to start raising. Another weird thing in this game is that Caterpie is the more common bug, and Weedle is the uncommon bug in blue. And it's so weird to me because I just grew up, and it was before the show came out. So I didn't really like Caterpie. It seemed like it sucked. But when the anime came out, Caterpie became definitely the more popular option around the playground. But because I had red version, I really liked Beedrill. But Beedrill sucked because it only could learn that like pinprick attack or whatever. And it was never very good. But yeah, I think fairy type or some sort of balancing was necessary. Let's see. But how was your weekend, guys? Like, you guys doing anything fun? I have to go to a birthday party here in a couple hours. That's why I should be studying to get that out of the way. But, you know me. Oh, good. It's a Metapod. That means I can easily kill it. Yeah. So, I always think I'm going to do more on the weekends than I ever actually do. I woke up pretty late this morning. I have to wake up early tomorrow because I have to go help a friend at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to have to go to an early church service. And instead of the one I'm used to going to. There's one in a town nearby. It starts at 8:08 in the morning. I don't know the purpose of the 8:08. You got a lot of cleaning done. Man, I need to do that. I just moved to this new area unexpectedly because of an accident that happened at my past apartment, and I still am not fully unpacked. And I've been here for like 3 months now, and I really should do that. There's Caterpie. You know, do you miss the old YouTube days? Yeah, I do. I really do. I I really miss video responses, like proper video responses. The console wars were fun because everyone took them seriously when everyone was actually trolling. Like that's the fun part about it. Like people like Chad Warden. Oh man, you know, new YouTube is not all that bad though because there's a lot of good content creators out there that spend way more time than we did on videos that are just excellent. That they're like TV quality. That's one thing I'll give these new YouTubers. They put a lot more effort than we did. They didn't just flick on a webcam like we did and spout a video out. They actually put a ton of that. I love YouTube. Like I want to front and kind of like be a hipster and say I don't like the new YouTube, but I'm totally lying. I watch YouTube all the goddamn time. I don't even own television subscription or anything, and I have Amazon Prime Video, but literally my only source of entertainment these days really is YouTube. I watch a ton of YouTube videos. And there was an excellent recap of Chad Warden Days that was put out. I don't know what the YouTuber's name is, but it came up in my suggested list. and it was like a documentary on Chad Warden, and it was so good. And I was like, God damn, that was my childhood. You know what I mean? Because that was right when I joined YouTube, was when Chad Warden came out in 2007 or whatever. And, that's when I was first starting to make videos. And, I was 15 when I was started making videos, and I'm 28 now. So I've spent 13 years on YouTube, man. Yeah, I used to watch Netflix a lot too. I mean, my parents have the password, and I need to watch the new. Like, they just finished BoJack Horseman, which is legit one of the best shows that has come out in a long time, and that's definitely something I need to watch because that's such a good show. And I know Adrian. I don't know if he's still in here, but he just finished watching it. I saw on his Twitter. Yeah. You don't see why boomers pay for it. I could give you two reasons why cable is still relevant, and that's sports and news. Like, that's why people pay for TV. Because those are the most watched things on TV, the sports and news. And they're not really, you can't really recreate them on streaming platforms. They've tried. They've tried to sell news and sports packages on streaming platforms, but people want to watch those things because they're live and immediate, and they really can't recreate that. So I think as long as people enjoy sports and news, you will always have cable, because the experience of those two mediums is just difficult to replicate on the internet. And me being, such a politico, I have to keep in contact with the news. So, I mean, at my work, we constantly have either Fox or CNN or something on in the background. So, it is what it is. Go sports ball. Yeah. I mean, I like sports, so I'm not going to pretend I have a Baltimore Orioles polo on right now. I don't know. I used to not like sports as much as a kid, but as I've grown older, it's really going to a game is just something you can't replicate. And going to a bar to watch a game with friends is such a good time to relax and blow off steam. And I don't know, I haven't found any way to replicate that. And sports is so universal too. That's the difference between it and like I probably could hang out with my buds, like my geeky friends, and watch a stream. But why'd I do that? A stream, but like a stream of a video game or something. But uh, I can get coworkers, no matter what background or where they're from. Some of them at least knows how a sport is supposed to be played and can enjoy whether or not a team is winning or losing. And I think that's the appeal of sports, is that it's so universal. Like, almost everyone I know knows how football is played, knows how baseball is played, knows how basketball is played. They may not know the specifics, but they know when a team scores a goal or scores a basket or gets a home run. I can understand the frustration with the idolatry of sports, but I think it's just like the idolatry of anything. Um, you know, like for instance, when I can get where a lot of them are coming from, because if you grow up with that medium, and someone from that era dies, it just hits you in a way. I didn't feel that way with Kobe because I didn't grow up watching basketball. But for instance, when Helsing 920 passed away here on YouTube, it hit me hard, man. And when I see people from YouTube that I grew up with, that I knew for a long time, pass away, and there's been a couple of them, it's like, damn, dude, that's crazy. It hits you some sort of way when someone you've known and watched and seen for years and enjoyed the content that they produced, and they're gone forever, and especially due to some sort of tragedy. it hits you, man. Like, I don't know what to say. Yeah, everything has tribalism, though. It's hard to separate tribalism from humanity, no matter where you're at. And sports is kind of, it's more like, I don't know how to say it, explicit about it. But like even here on YouTube, like you had tribalism. You had people who were fans of me, people who were fans of El Presidor, and they would all go after each other and stuff. Like, you know, I think we're just not used to it being nerds, the culture of sports. But it's actually very similar to the culture of gaming. It's just more universal. And as gaming becomes more mainstream, it's going to become more like sports. I mean, you know, I can see that because maybe they responded to you to a video or spoke to you directly, but a famous person on TV, no connection. Yeah, I understand that aspect of it, but also, like, for instance, there's a lot of YouTubers nowadays I've watched for years and I've lurked on their content, never talked to them or anything either, and if they died, I probably would still be hurt by it too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've only met Angry Video Game Nerd once in my whole life, James Rolfe. I only met him at E3 once. We haven't spoken since E3, 2010. But if he passed away, it'd be crazy, man. Like, if there was like some tragedy and James Rolfe passed away, it would be nuts. Like, I probably would feel the same way people feel about Kobe, because he was just so influential on me and my peers, and my life. Like, if Angry Video Game Nerd never have happened, my life would be completely different. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Oh yeah, I mean, but some people get too into everything. You know what I mean? Like, I watch some of these people in the Smash community. Oh man, God, I forgot about this stupid aspect of this game. No PP left. Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, though. I had similar thoughts back in the day. Like, and I think a lot of it, when you get older, you realize this stuff, that there's just a lot of parallels. The first time where I realized that, we all live in our own little communities is I was in Las Vegas, and there was a mattress convention going on. Mattress convention. I'm like, what the hell? Why do they have a convention for mattresses? You know what I mean? Like, and there was like a whole sleep community, and they had like, and it was set up just like E3, like in a lot of ways. And I was like, holy crap! Literally everything in our life, there is something like this. Like, there's a whole community built around everything. And when I woke up to that fact, I was able to see sports and all that in the same context. I was like, wow, a lot. We're a lot similar than we think we are. Like, humans in general. Like, everybody's very similar, and we spend way too much time focusing on our differences. And I don't know why that was the thing that made me wake up. It's always weird little things in life that give you lessons, but like, it was so bizarre the first time I realized that everything in life, like, there's just a lot more context than you realize. Somebody had to design this big pen. A lot of heart and soul and energy went into marketing and the design of this cheap pen. And there's a whole community of pens, like with fountain pens and stuff. Like, it's crazy how much community there is around some of the most mundane objects in your life. And I've discovered a lot of that here on YouTube too, like the watch community and the pen community, and like, you would be shocked. Everything in your life, there are crazy people, and there's like people who take it way too far. Like, but the difference is, though, is that I think the reason why sports, it's so more obvious to see that and to kind of hate that, is that sports is so universal and so mainstreamly accepted that the crazy people aren't treated as poorly as the crazy people from gaming. Like, when people saw crazy people in gaming, they used it to define our whole hobby. Whereas crazy people in sports, because it's so universal and so many people like it, it doesn't get the same sort of scrutiny as video games did. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, if a mass shooter liked the Philadelphia Eagles, it wouldn't be mentioned. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be mentioned like Doom was for Columbine. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. A lot of our animosity to how video games are treated vis-a-vis sports, you know, is because our hobby gets a lot more scrutiny for the people who paint it in a bad light than sports people do. You know, when the Philadelphia Eagles win and the town literally riots, nobody says anything. But if one bad person is found to have a video game on their computer, suddenly there may be a need for regulation. So I understand where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I've realized over the years that it's also not as bad. Yeah, well, the reason why video games get scapegoated is because a lot of people don't have that much experience with them. They didn't grow up with them. They're fairly new. I mean, you saw this stuff with sports too. Like, if you go back and look in the days when sports were first starting to get popular and youth leagues were starting and all that, a lot of people, were a lot more skeptical about the benefits of sports and all that. So, it just takes time. In a couple of generations, people playing games, people won't care. Like, it'll be a lot different. Turn down the music. It's drowning out my vocals. Okay. Sorry about that. I have no idea what I sound like or how this is all set up. It has to do actually with the MacBook because the MacBook has the microphone placed on the side of the computer and the speakers are kind of in this black front part. It's a very poorly designed product for video streaming and video conferencing, which I think is weird because the whole purpose of putting the webcam in the computer was to try to make it an ideal platform for that, but they didn't really think through the audio. So, and it was $1,000 computer when it came out too, but it's poorly designed because they wanted to make it look good. I've kind of fallen out of love with Apple in a lot of ways too. Their products are just not as designed as thoughtfully as they used to be. Like the original MacBook, the original iMac. I mean the white iMac that I used when my first computer I ever bought. That was designed so well, except for the mouse. The mouse is kind of trash. The scroll ball would always break on it. But there was so much thought put into the design of the computer from a usability aspect. And now I really do think that Apple cares a lot more about how a computer works. I mean, how a computer looks compared to how a computer works. They also don't have to care as much anymore because they're no longer like 5% of the market desperately trying to hold on for bitter life like they were under Jobs. Which, I think is a major part of their design. I mean, their decline in quality is that they just don't have to care as much as they used to. But this MacBook is like from 2015, and man, it's hard to find a decent laptop, like a traditional laptop. I feel like you just can't. They don't build them like they used to design. Like things aren't designed to last as long because it's just hard to find a decent quality one. What's the deal with that $1,000 stand? I don't even know, man. It was I I can make a lot of excuses for Apple. I can't make an excuse for that one. Oh man, I don't know what is the material made out of platinum or why the hell is it $1,000? Like I can't even explain it. Like I've fallen out of love with Apple in a lot of ways. Like I don't know if you saw one of my earlier videos from like last year. I basically use a budget Android phone now. Like I don't use expensive Apple products anymore because I pay for them myself now. I was a lot more comfortable when my parents would help me buy an iPhone to use an iPhone, but nowadays I have a $250 phone and it's the Samsung Galaxy A50. That's my phone, and it works just fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and it does everything I need it to do. So I don't see the purpose of buying a $1,000 phone anymore. Uh, like it also made more sense too when you could buy it for $200 in the contract. But nowadays, like you know, I can't justify dropping $1,000 on a phone. I just can't. Especially since the mid-tier phones are pretty much just as good. Oh man. So I'm not even sure how this YouTube streaming works. We've had a total of 4 viewers. I uh, I have not done streaming since Ustream was popular, like serious streaming. Ustream was something else, man. I really liked it. I am I'm kind of sad that Twitch won the streaming wars. Yeah, I do think the $1,000 phone price is insane, but I understand why it's accepted. People have replaced their computer with a phone, and I used to pay $1,000 for a computer. This MacBook was $1,000 when it came out. I bought it refurbished for $700, but it was $1,000 when it came out. Like that was the price of this computer, and basically phones are just mini computers. So if you only use your phone, I could see how you could justify the price. But you know, the mid tier phones are so good nowadays. It's so hard for me to justify it, and you know they don't break like crappy computers do. You know what I mean? Like crappy computers that are made of plastic, because it's just a sheet of glass. The the mechanics don't break down like crappy computers do. Crappy like mid tier phones, they last, man. Like this Samsung Galaxy A50, it lasts. Like I've dropped it a couple of times. It's never broken. It came with a case. Like it has a headphone jack. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, it's just hard for me I can't justify buying a phone like that. Oh man, let's see. I probably should get going soon. I want to read at least one of these chapters before I have to go to this birthday party. Um, but it's so nice, you know. I'm gonna finish this battle here and probably head out. But it's pretty nice playing video games on stream again, and I'll probably try to do it again soon. And I'll just save this Pokemon game for that. Um, I have to figure out how save states work on this thing. But yeah, I love these original Pokemon games. They're just my favorite. They're, I don't know. They never get old to me, and I can't say that about a lot of games. And these ones specifically, because they're so short and they're so passionate and they're such passion projects, I think they're like the right flavor. But thanks everybody for coming. Save current game. Let's see. Pokemon stream. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Have a good day.